Hello and welcome to a new video. In this one I want to talk about field systems, and I came across quite a few when I was mapping buildings in County Roscommon. I don't know if they're especially common in County Roscommon or if that's just because there's a lot of stony fields and you can see them more easily. It will get clearer once I show you. And because it's the first time I actually really noticed them in such an amount, I had to create a wiki page for them and I had to come up with a tag. And I basically just used what the National Monument Service is using, which is field system. So the tag is archaeological_site equals field system, field_system. So if I look it up on the wiki, it's all explained there. So there's the tag, and then there's a quick definition. A field system is an area of historic agriculture. It is recognizable on area imagery by crop marks, overgrown walls, or remaining walls, most likely dry stone. Sometimes, I think there's a closing bracket missing, oops. Sometimes other historic features like remains of houses, hut circles, ancient trackways, or castles are present, and we'll show you that. The field system can also include or represent a shieling, which is an English word for a bullying village. So in Ireland it's more commonly known as the bullying village, and in Scotland or places where they did that in the UK, it's called a shieling. As far as I know. Disclaimer, I'm still not a qualified archaeologist. I'm just doing this for fun. And how to map, ideally draw an area of the field system and add historic equals archaeological site and archaeological site equals field system. And sometimes it's difficult to ascertain how far it stretches, but that's just, no harm in making it bigger or smaller than it actually is. And then there's some photographs that I found on Wikicommons. So we'll go in. The first one that I came across today was in the townland of Shigira. I'm not entirely sure if I pronounced that right, but it's in County Roscommon, as I said, and it's here. And there's a lot of archaeology going on around there. There's a lot of tumuli or tumuli, barrows and castles and all kinds of things. So the townland that we're looking for is here, Shigira. But it doesn't, a field system is not going to respect townland boundaries because they're way, way older. I can't exactly tell you how old. Some of them aren't actually that old. They're only like 19th, 18th, 19th century. But some of them could go back way, way further. And also there's a possibility, and don't quote me on this, but that these kinds of areas have been settled for centuries or even longer. So we'll go in. I'm logged in with my username. And I'm using the ID editor now. I usually wouldn't do it for that, but I'll use it here. So this is the Esri imagery, but actually the better imagery at the moment is Bing for Roscommon, for most parts of Roscommon. It's more recent and it's clearer. So the field system is here. If you zoom in, so you can already hopefully see that there is an enclosure here, probably a castle, and then there's something smaller here. I don't know if that is a hut site, might well be, or a hut circle. And then there's something square-ish, which could be a hut site. So it would be about, the scales down here, about shorter than 10 meters long. So this is a whole field system, and then you have field boundaries here. And there's another one here, and as I said in the definition, it's most likely overgrown dry stone walls, because that's what survives, because the stone survives, and you see what they call on Time Team, very technical term, lumps and bumps, which you would probably see in the landscape as well. But it's much easier to see on the satellite imagery. There's also, the longer you look at these kinds of aerial photographs, the more you see, and I've spent thousands of hours now, like actually 2,100 hours probably mapping, a lot more than that. But actually here's the roundish, circular, subcircular enclosure, I think, and there might be something square here, so that could actually be maybe another house in some sort of an enclosure. Sometimes you can actually also see what the road was. I can't see that in this example now, There might be one here. They're usually they seem quite wide for some reason, like 20 meters. I don't know if that is one. But I also want to show you what it looks like on the British War Office map, because they usually look very much the same. They usually have these symbols here, which means like stony field. And if I go down here, you can also see that there's a giant's grave there, so that's probably a passage tomb or something. So what I will do first, go back to Bing, grab my area tool from above here. I don't grab it, I'll just click on it and see if it actually, I don't think it extends here. It might. There is something here. If you can't see that, don't worry. As I said, I've spent hundreds, thousands of hours looking at these kinds of imagery, so I might see a few more things than other people see. But I'll just draw it within the townland boundaries of Shigira. So I'll start here, and I'll follow the dry stone wall here. It might not have, the dry stone walls some of them are not as old. But I'll go down here, and there does seem to be something going on over here. So maybe there was a stream flowing through the village, however old it is. And just follow, this is a dry stone wall that I've already mapped earlier. And maybe follow this tree line here. It's, as I said, it's difficult to say sometimes how far it stretches, so I'll make it like this. And hit escape, so I have this area defined now. And then you can either go down to area, choose area, and type in everything you need to type in. Or you can also type into the search archaeological site. And then, I don't know if field system comes up. It does actually, so I have mapped quite a few already. So that makes it a bit easier. You just have to type in field system in type, or you can go down here and type archaeological site. If you're afraid you're gonna have a typo, just copy it from the previous key and paste it in here, and then type in field system. So if I had done that, let's say I haven't typed it into type, I'll just copy this here, add a new line, paste this, and then if I type field system, it comes up as well. There's no way of knowing, at least that I know of, to date this, so we don't know what period it is. If this is a casual, and we'll check in a second, that's probably early medieval, but I don't want to be too precise, because there could have been, I don't know, maybe there were Bronze Age people before that. And as the source, we'll give Bing. And then we can go down here. So this is the field system basically already done. You can save that and just go about your day and be happy about that. But I just want to check out some more of the things that you can find in this, I want to call it, maybe it's not a village if it's a field system, in this field system, in this site. So down here is the Giant's Grave. We'll check again against the British War Office map. I don't see any marker on this one here where exactly it is. It just says Giant's Grave, and I don't really see a dot or anything there. But I presume it's this one here. It looks like fairly big stones, and maybe it was a tumulus at some point, because I can see that there's something circular here. I don't know if you can. So I'll mark this here. And Giant's Grave is obviously not an archaeological term, but we go with the archaeological site again. And then archaeological site megalith. And then I don't exactly know what it is, but what I can do is I can go to the historic environment viewer. And I've already gone to that area, which is a bit tricky because there are a lot of townlands in Roscommon that are duplicates. Like 2 townlands with the same name in County Roscommon, and the historic environment viewer will only bring you to 1. That's a little bit annoying, but you can't make it too easy. Also, what I noticed in Roscommon is that there are often townlands of the same name next to each other. Why not just make one townland and call it whatever the name is? I just don't get that. It's very confusing. It kind of defies the purpose of a name. Anyway, I click on that and it is a passage tomb. I actually suspected that. So megalith, because usually when it says, I can't type now. When it says Giant's Grave, it usually is a passage tomb. So megalith type is the next one, then the next in the hierarchy. Passage grave. We'll go with passage grave because that seems to be one that is used regularly, and then we can actually get the ref, i.e. SMR. And there's a whole lot of an explanation there that we were not going to read now, so that the video doesn't get too long. So there is a passage tomb, and then let's check. There's something here as well. Looks like maybe it's a cairn or something. You see that there are quite a few stones lying around here, and it might be on a little bit higher ground. I don't know. That would be this one. It is another passage tomb. So I'll try to highlight the whole area where I can see stones. Archaeological site. And I can type in the megalith up here under type. And then megalith. It's difficult to type. Let's type passage tomb. Grave, sorry. And this also has a number. But I wanted to check out the cashel, or yeah, this one here. See if that is a hut circle. So it's there. So you see, this is the Esri imagery, even though they call it, I think, digital globe on the historic environment viewer. But it's the same one as we have here under Esri clarity. So you can see the ring there as well, but it's just clearer on Bing. So it is a cairn. I'll go with that. It could be a tumulus. It often is, but unless you dig in and find bones or a cremation, you wouldn't know that it is a tumulus. It might just be a cairn. So there, as far as I know, there is no tag for that on OpenStreetMap for cairns. Not an archaeological, not a historic one, but the key is just, or the tag is just man-made cairn, because that's what they are. I might have to create one at some point, and then we could add historic, yes, oops. And add the reference number as well. Mm-hmm. And Roscommon is littered with those. I'll show you in a minute. I mean that in the most, in the nicest sense possible. There is something here. I swear there is, but I don't think they have recognized that. And you can see it on this one here as well. I'll just go ahead and mark it as a house, because it has the right size and everything. So we'll get again archaeological site and archaeological site house, which is not documented on the wiki yet, because there are not terribly many. I can't add the reference number because the National Monument Service hasn't discovered this one yet. And then there might be one here. Let's see if they have that. No. This here, they have something here and something there. If I can't see it, I usually, the rules I go by is if I can't really see what they say is there, I don't add it. Pretty sure this is something as well. And somebody might have quarried here a bit. That looks a bit like a quarry. And then the big one, the cashel, which is there. So it is a cashel. Who would have thunk it? So I'll just highlight that as well. Oops. Try to be as precise as possible. It's not displayed on the regular view on OpenStreetMap, it will just show the little amphora that we saw earlier. I'll show you again. So if I zoom out here, all the things that I've mapped earlier, there's a ring fort here, and just a second, I'll turn the data off. It'll just show this little amphora and it doesn't tell you what it is. And because you're not supposed to add a description in the name, and this ring fort doesn't have a name, like you're not supposed to say name equals ring fort just so it displays that this is a ring fort. That's not what we do. It will only show that, but on Osmond, for example, it would show the whole area as a brown with a dashed border. So you know the size that you can expect. So back to the Cashel. I've drawn the area, and then I'll type in arc here. I should highlight it probably, that would help. And define it as an area, fortification, and then fortification type ring fort, and then ring fort Cashel. So it's not fortification type Cashel, it's, there's a few hierarchies that you have to go through. And then the reference number here is this one. And if you remember before I drew it, you could see that there is a bit of the lumps and bumps. What you could do is take the line tool, go around in anti-clockwise. That is very important. And add man-made embankment. And you see it'll have these little defensive spikes there. And I think that is all that they have seen. There's something here. That's probably another house. Yeah. One that I can't actually see. It might be this one here, but I'm not sure. So I'm not going to add it. So that is that. And if you want to add some of the dry stone walls, here, this one, for example, because I followed it, I might as well just add it and then go here. Either you could go down to barriers, look for wall, and then under type add dry stone, or you just type it all from the start. I would really like to also draw these, but I'm not entirely sure how to do that because there's a lot of old field boundaries here. But I'm not sure what keys to use, so I usually don't do that. Yeah, and that's all we can do now. If there wasn't a stream here, it would almost look like a trackway. But there is a stream there, so it's not. Anyway, that's that one. We'll save that. Added archaeological sites. Sources. Bing. And HEV. Yeah. And no hashtag this time. And save that. That's fascinating. Sorry. It's just the imagery is so nice. It's just so much fun to draw these. This name here, Carounrini or whatever. I've noticed there's often field systems in place names that have Caro in them. There's probably a very good reason in the etymology of Caro that I haven't looked up, so the usual haven't done my research right. If I refresh this now, after a while there should be more little amphoras coming up. Or not. Well, I'll show you how many there are. So this is a search I made earlier. Yeah, so I'm looking for archaeological site field system. I won't need the nodes. Well, maybe I should. Because in the definition or in the how to map, I said you can use nodes. Maybe somebody did. I doubt it. And I'll just zoom out. But most of them are in Ireland. Yeah, so there's one in the Netherlands that has been mapped and loads in Ireland. And as you can see, loads and loads in Roscommon. There's a total of 50 mapped. So 49 polygons and 1 point. which I don't know where it is. It should have a different color. There are actually 2 in the Netherlands. Sometimes, and you see here in this example in the Netherlands, there's loads there as well. I don't know if they're all houses or whatever they are. And it seems to have, I don't know if that's a field name or if that is the name of the archaeological site, Noordse. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because my Dutch is even worse than my Irish. But the veld bit, if that's how it's pronounced, means field. So it's probably something like the northern field or something. I don't know. And sometimes when you get them in Ireland, the field name will be the street, if you have field names, because people know there was a village there at some point or a field system. Sometimes difficult to say if it was a settlement or a field system because people usually lived next to their field because, they didn't commute. Anyway, let's try this again. Refresh. So now we have the Giant's Grave and the other passage tomb, whatever this was, and the cairn, I think a house, and there is the cashel. Okie doke, I had another townland there for you also in Roscommon, Glen Ballythomas. It was only after I was finished mapping that I realized that the Glen Ballythomas site, the whole field system and all the parts, the castles and the enclosures and the court tomb are a national monument number 473. If you're interested in national monuments, I have a video about them as well. Which also had a field system. So there we have it. It's the townland. I don't know, I can't remember how big it is. But again, you see loads of stuff already mapped, historical things and dry stone walls, and we'll have a look at this here. So I go in. So this caught my eye, as it should yours. Don't know what it is yet, but it's probably also either a cashel, which is massive. It's like 70 meters across, roughly, the scale down here. It's easier to measure in JOSM, but since I don't use JOSM for my tutorials, I can't show you there. I don't know what these things are. These like coffin-shaped little holes. I only noticed them today. I don't know what they are. This might be an old trackway here. If you can see that. There are 2 walls going parallel in about maybe 10 meters between them. So this might be a trackway. And then we have probably another cashel here, more of those holes, and there is a tumulus, I think. Yes, I don't know why there is another one here. Oh, because there's a standing stone on top. And loads of dry stone walls, and then we have these things. I'll turn what I've already mapped off. So you have these, what they call linear earthworks, on the historic environment viewer, and there seems to be another one here and more of these holes. I really don't know what they are. If anyone knows, please put it in the comment section. So we'll see what we can do about this one, figure out how big it is. It's massive because it goes on here. These green lines are something that I want to talk about in a future video. It's just never ending. But there don't seem to be that many walls here around these, whatever they are. So, but this is what when you see this, you can be fairly sure that it's man-made and it's a field system, however old. So I'll go around here. This road seems to go through. I don't want to include the little forest, and I don't want to include the linear earthworks. They might, I don't know if they were processional roads or, I don't know. Because they don't seem to lead to whatever this site is. So I'll zoom out a bit so I can maybe see the extent of it. It's massive. Be around here. It's probably one of the biggest I've seen. That's almost the whole townland. Exclude this residential area, even though it was probably at some point part of it. And they should have never been allowed to build on it. Be careful not to hit the power line there. Not in real life and also not while mapping. Does it go across the road? There might be something, but I won't include it now. Well, there seems to be more. There is, I don't know, it's a ridge or something. There's another ridge here. Okay, that should do. Archaeological site and then type field system. And let's see if I can find out if there is a number for it. I presume there is. What was it called? Glen Valley Thomas. The thing is, then you can see, these are all, most of them will be sites. Sometimes they're redundant records. So the thing now is that I would have to find the dot for the field system, which is not going to be easy. Could be anywhere depending on, it's going to be in the center of the area, but since I don't know how large they've drawn that area, really, I think I'm just going to give up on that immediately. I won't find it. So we'll just focus on some of the larger things that are there as well. So this big, I don't know, castle. If we're looking for the center, which would be this one. See, there's a redundant record. Concentric enclosure, I'll go with that, that's fine. So, around here. There is a ditch here to the west, you can see that. And it might have gone around it at some point. Archaeological site, there is no tag for concentric enclosure on OpenStreetMap, it's just enclosure, so you should be able to type that under type. Yes, and there's a wiki page for it as well. No photograph there apart from the one in the info box. 248 so far. There's probably a few more because I've mapped a few today, and the little tag info template is only updated once a day. Okay, and get the number here. I think I saw a red dot for this road here. So as I said earlier, this looks like a trackway road or whatever. So that's what they saw as well, so that's good. So we just draw a line there, roughly in the center of the road. Historic. Oh yeah, it's a road, sorry. I usually just add them as historic road. It's not a documented tag, but there are a couple of them already. If we go for historic equals road 20 megabytes, that's already telling you that there are quite a few. Yeah, so it is, it is used a lot. So it's okay to use it. Ref IESMR. This one. And then let's see if this is a castle or just an enclosure. This one here is a castle. So we can, and it's fairly circular. And maybe there's a souterrain as well. look at this little hole here. Have a look. So fortification, ring fort, castle, and ref IESMR. These. I forgot to put source in a couple of them. Bing. And this would also probably be on the British War Office map. Yeah. So you see the. I can't read that. It says grave there. Don't know. Maybe here. It's a suturan. Sometimes you get houses inside of castles or enclosures. Let's see if I can see the dot there. Yeah, there's a little hole there. That's probably the suturan. But I wasn't finished with this one, was I? Yes, I was. I get just too excited with all the archaeology. So, again, not documented. Archaeological site. Suturan. That's how it's spelled. Yes. And let's see if that is a suturan as well. Nope. Anything else that stands out? I mean, there's a lot more enclosures and stuff like that here. Let's see if this is a house site. This is because it's square. And also it faces south, which they sometimes do. Seems to be... Is it this one? No, they have this one here. Well, it looks the same to me. So I would think this would be a house as well. You can go ahead and report them all to the National Monument Service. I have other things to report and it takes too long for them to get back to me. Won't bother anymore. Let's see if maybe there's a road here. It's a bit weirdly shaped for a road. No, it's an enclosure. Where's it gone? Here. So they have a court tomb there on the map, but if there isn't anything on the British War Office map, there is. Clochanaggarb. I suppose we can map it. If it's a court tomb, trying to think what shape it would have had when it was still complete. I think like this. As indicated by some of the flagstones that are still there. Like this, roughly. Archaeological site. Archaeological site. Megalith, I think. Megalith type. Porch. Tomb. Don't know. I thought I had mapped a few, but maybe not enough for it to turn up. And the number. Source. Being British War Office map and HEV. Historic Environment Viewer. I'm sure there are a couple of, these are probably just sheep, they're not standing stones. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to tell, to be honest. This could be a standing stone though. Just in case. Maybe not. Can't get them all. I'm sure there are standing stones, but I'm not going to click through all these red dots and check. That's taking too long. Yeah, and I'll save that. Added archaeological sites. Sources being British War Office map and HEV. I'm just gonna go turn on the British War Office map again just to show you what it looks like here. It looks like Clochanagori, maybe? The name for the passage tomb. I might just add that. Name Cloch, which is stone. Can't help you with the rest. And there are a couple more labels here, but I can't, they're so difficult to read. The cave is usually a souterrain, and then I don't know what muklahs are. And sometimes it's just impossible to read what's written there. Cashel Mananan? Cashel Mananan? One of those. Oh, I can't read that. And I also can't read that. Pili. I mean, I could check here. Relic Marie. So maybe there was some sort of a relic, is a burial site, so maybe there was a Killeen as well or something. Clochanagorp. Ah well, close enough. Let's fix that. Clochanagorp. Enough of that. Well, you see, there's loads and loads, and as I said, there are so many of those in Roscommon. Not all of them are as big as this one. Some are much more smaller. Upload. Yeah, I won't bore you with refreshing the page because all you're gonna see are more of the amphoras. Sorry, I got a bit carried away there because there's just so much archaeology, and it just, the imagery is just so crisp. It's just, as I said, it's very satisfying mapping these, even though it's not part of the buildings project, which I'm actually working on. But I mean, anything to add to the map improves it. So these were field systems and whatever you can find in them, and I didn't even get to show you everything sometimes. Rarely there will be holy wells in them. I didn't get to show you a hut circle, but you can just look that up on the wiki. It has to be circular, hence the name. And what else? No, that's basically it. On the British War Office map, as I showed you, it'll often look just like a very stony field, because maybe you can't see much, because the surveyors who made all these maps, they didn't have aerial views. They were only walking the lumps and bumps, and that's, you know, what they could film, what they could see. They couldn't really determine that there were things like houses, and maybe they didn't consider them important enough. Not as important as giants' graves and cashels and all kinds of enclosures. You can't rely on the labels that are on the British War Office map, which is also important because sometimes, for example, with the giant's grave, that's not a term that is used in archaeology anymore. And also, sometimes you get labels that say stone circle because there are circles in a stone, but they're not necessarily upright stones, so they are the last remains of a tumulus or a passage grave or some other, well, usually a passage grave because of the circular tumulus, because a court tomb has a different shape, as I showed you there, and I hope I got it right. And yeah, so you have to either know the area or check against the Historic Environment Viewer. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I shall see you soonish in another video. Slán go fóill.